Hey everyone, Mr. Sujano here, your source for gaming, tech, emulation, and open source news. Let's get started. Alright, to kick things off, we're talking about PlayStation, and Sony just released some information that, well, some people are finding humorous and some people are upset about. And it's in regards to the PlayStation 2. It appears Sony has confirmed that the PS2 has sold a total of 160 million units. Now, I'm not joking with you, the number is published right here on their website, and like everything I talk about, link will be in the description below right at the bottom. I don't hide my sources. Anyways, here, this is a very interesting number. I mean, it was confirmed back in March by Jim Ryan. There are reports of this number in a bunch of different places online, and it was because of Jim Ryan in a podcast. And, well, here's one of the titles to kind of paint the picture. It's over on Time Extension, and they say, outgoing PlayStation CEO claims PS2 has sold 160 million. Yet some don't believe him. Another well-placed Jim Ryan lie. So here are some of the reactions back in March. I actually don't believe him. How is it for the longest time that the PS2 has sold 155 million? Yeah, he's now going and said it sold 160 million, and it's lifetime don't believe him. Why say this now? Because he's leaving. This person says, updates us only when the Switch is slated to cross 155 million on his last day, so no one can keep him accountable. Another well-placed Jim Ryan lie. Source, trust me bro, he should have said 200 million if he was just going to make shit up. Now, I did a little bit of investigation on this one just to see where these numbers were coming from, and this is right from Sony Interactive's website, and it hasn't been updated to reflect 160 million at the time of filming here. So if I take a look at the business data and sales for PS2, it says more than 155 million units. And that's as of March 31st, 2012. So first and foremost here, more than 155 is very vague. It could be 155.1, it could be 158. I really don't know. On top of that, it does say as of March 31st, 2012. And that's worth noting because the PS2 was still in production at that time. It didn't end production until 2013. So realistically here, Sony had about another 9 months of production, not sales, production of the PS2, which means the PS2 was probably still on sale well into 2013. I can't quite remember back then, but I'm guessing it was probably on sale new on the shelf until probably mid towards the end of 2013. I could be wrong. And 9 months to make, well, 5 million units or so, that is not unreasonable. That's completely understandable. Unfortunately, Sony really never confirmed the final sales numbers until now. Now, a lot of people are speculating that Sony has done this, increased the number here to maintain the top-selling console of all time. So if we take a look on Wikipedia here on the best-selling consoles of all time, PS2 is number 1. It was sitting at 155, and now it's sitting at 160. And then Nintendo Switch is in third place at 146.04, so a little under 15 million units away. Now, I don't know about you, but I enjoy reading some of these comments and reactions. I just find them hilarious for a number of different reasons. So here is Jeff Keighley, who is well known for stirring up a controversy or two. I mean, he's behind the Game Awards. Anyways, we'll leave that one for another video. Here are some of the reactions. I love how Sony keeps adding sales every time the Switch gets closer. The Nintendo DS is at 154.02 million, so Switch is third best. Even if the Switch catches up in sales, it's a hybrid console, plus the gaming market is way bigger now than it was during the PS2 days, so Nintendo's got way more room to grow. Xbox P3, since everyone can make up sales numbers, why not throw your hat in the ring with the X360 at 165 and 1 sales? Seems legit to me. And we've got, so they just fudging numbers now to keep ahead of the Switch. Sony out there padding stats like a star caliber NBA player during garbage time. Taking a look here, Switch will 100% pass this by the end of next year. That is a lot of DVD players. And that is something worth pointing out. The PS2 sold very well because it was also a very cheap DVD player. Now, to be honest with you, I find the dialogue here surrounding the whole situation to be way more interesting than the overall sales. Yes, it's cool to have the best-selling console of all time, but at the end of the day, the numbers don't matter too much. I mean, if you like the console and like the games, that's what really should matter here. I'm just enjoying the saltiness, the debates, and the anger and everything surrounding it. It's very interesting to go through, and, well, it's worth a read and worth getting some popcorn out and a drink and enjoying your time. I really think here that the PS2 is plausible that it sold 160 million units. I mean, 155 with over a half year to go, yeah, maybe. And I also think that the Switch has a very good chance of beating the PS2, even at 160 million units. So it's going to be interesting to see how things go moving forward. But let me know your thoughts. Do you think the Switch will surpass the PS2 at 160? Do you think the Switch is going to kind of taper off with the upcoming release of the Switch 2? And speaking about sales numbers and kind of Sony, next up here we're talking about Call of Duty. And now you may be able to see why Sony was so strongly against Microsoft purchasing Activision Blizzard. Because Call of Duty is hot and it's doing better than it ever has before here. So here is the tweet from Call of Duty. Thank you to the Call of Duty community for continuing to make the launch of Black Ops 6 one for the record books. Number 1 total players, number 1 hours played, and number 1 total matches in the first 30 days from launch. And they say here, together you made Black Ops 6 the biggest Call of Duty ever. Now, I don't know about you, but it's interesting to me that Call of Duty can keep pumping out games year after year, and popularity is seemingly increasing on this stuff. People aren't getting tired of Call of Duty. It keeps evolving, and well, the player base keeps growing. Let me know your thoughts about that one. And speaking about game releases, next up we're talking about a very interesting one, and I would argue possibly one of the best, if not the best racer on the Game Boy Color, which just released. This one is called Nitro, and it looks a whole lot like Top Gear. It looks a whole lot like Horizon Chase, and well, it looks really good. Now, I don't know about you, and this one might be a hot take. Maybe I'm out in left field in my opinion, but I don't think the Game Boy Color has a lot of great racing games on it. There are a lot of racing games, but great ones, I don't know. I mean, Top Gear Pocket 2 is pretty good, and well, it competes against this game here. If you played this one, let me know your thoughts about it in the comments below and how it competes against other racing games in the Game Boy Color library. This game costs a whopping $1 or more if you want. Next up, we're talking about PlayStation again, and I'm not certain if it was Capcom or PlayStation who were listening to gamers here or if it was a separate decision altogether. But earlier on, Dino Crisis and Resident Evil Director's Cut were released under the PS Premium tier only, and if you didn't have PS Premium, you couldn't play these games. And fortunately now it appears that these games are available back on the PlayStation Store, and you can pick them up for I think $10 each, and they're free if you own them on PSP, PS3, or PS Vita. Now moving forward, I'm very curious to see what happens here, whether games are stuck behind PS Plus Premium for a limited time first and then released on the normal stores later on, or if this is just a one-time thing. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. Next up, we're talking about Balatro, which is an indie roguelike card game that seems to be doing very well after it received a nomination over at the Game Awards. Over on Steam here, this game has an overwhelmingly positive review score, and it has released for Apple and Android. So according to Pocket Gamer, Balatro was on a decline throughout October over on mobile, and now it nears $4.4 million on mobile amid a sudden spending surge. And a lot of people are assuming that the Game Awards nomination helped out the popularity of this app and brought more attention to it. So taking a look at Balatro over on Google Play here, and the game has over 100,000 downloads with a 4.8 star rating, and it costs about $9.99 US to buy. There are no predatory pricing things in this game. It's not meant to be a microtransaction game, a free-to-play game, or anything like that. It's a one-price premium game per se. If you don't believe me, here's a post right from the developers of Balatro. I wanted to post this to dispel some rumors about Balatro Mobile. Balatro will launch as a premium app with no in-app purchases. There's a caveat to that. In the future, we are working to make a free version of the app instead with limited content, like a demo, with the option for an in-app one-time purchase for the full game for the same cost as the premium version. That is why the in-app purchase flag is showing up on our store pages. Furthermore, the game will not have microtransactions. It will not have predatory monetization. Once you pay money for the app, it will have identical content to the Steam console versions of the game for the lifetime of the game. No version of Balatro Mobile will ever have in-game ads either. So let me know your thoughts about Balatro in the comments below. Have you played it? Are you enjoying it, or are you not? Did you know about it before the Game Awards nomination, or even before this video? And what do you think about the pricing model? Do you think this version of the game, one price forever, is the way to go here, or do you prefer the free-to-play kind of microtransaction games that are flooding mobile? Honestly here, I think this is the right approach, and hopefully it works out, and hopefully it starts to set a tone to stray away from some of the free-to-play stuff. I don't know here, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm off base with that line of thinking, but at the same time here, I just like paying one price for a game and that's it. And speaking about additional content like DLC and microtransactions and whatnot here, next up we're talking about Mortal Kombat 1. And it appears there's not good news for this game moving forward in terms of overall support and DLC. The latest rumor here is that Combat Pack 3 has been cancelled and there will be no more DLC for MK1. So Fate Unknown, who is known for some Mortal Kombat leaks over on Reddit Mortal Kombat Leaks, says Combat Pack 3 and a second story expansion were planned, all cancelled recently. No more characters after Combat Pack 2. A cameo or two might make it since there has been work done on them, but I don't know yet. And someone asks, thanks for the info, any ideas why they cancelled? And Fate Unknown says Chaos Reigns sold poorly. Now, although this is just a rumor, I think there may be some truth here. I mean, taking a look at Mortal Kombat 1 on Steam, it's got a mostly positive review score with over 20,000 reviews. The game released in September of 23. And taking a look at Chaos Reigns expansion, it's sitting at mostly negative. That's an awful rating. And it was released in September of this year. And it only has 68 ratings. That is not good. I mean, a mostly negative review score is not good in itself, but at the same time here, with such low ratings for a AAA game, I mean, the number of ratings alone tell me this probably was not widely adopted. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure it's because of the price. I mean, taking a look here in Canada, it's $70. In the States, I think it's $60, and that's a very hefty price for DLC. And here's what the reviews say. Exceedingly short, lack of character development with nothing really explored. Main event was uneventful. Never felt the need to review something until now. And this person says, the most expensive cash grab of the year. So let me know your thoughts about this one. Do you think this is the end of the line for MK1 in terms of development and expansions and DLC and all of that? Or do you think this rumor is completely unfounded? In my opinion here, I think it does spell the beginning of the end, or maybe not even the beginning of the end of this game in terms of overall support and development. I could be wrong here, but this is Warner Brothers we're talking about. Moving on, and we're talking about BuildLauncher. Now, for those who may not be aware, BuildLauncher stands for Subscribe to Mr. Sujano, and it's a front end for build engine games. It's inspired by Doom Launcher. So if you aren't familiar with this one, it is on GitHub, it is open source, and again, like everything I talk about, link will be in the description below right at the bottom if you wanted to learn more about it. So at the time of filming, version 1.1.1 is the latest update, and this thing has been getting updated quite a bit over the last few weeks. For example, in version 0.25.2, they added in support for custom ports. In version 0.26, they added the ability to select and download multiple files. And there's update after update, so they're already up to version 1.1.1, where they fixed what lies beneath folder from being deleted right after unpacking. Now, as for what's planned in the future, and I don't think we're going to be waiting long for this one at all based on their update schedule, it appears they're going to be adding in DOSBox support, more downloadable maps, campaigns, and mods, and Linux and Steam Deck support. Let me know your thoughts about BuildLauncher. And speaking about Linux, next up here we're talking about Elementary OS, and Elementary OS 8 has just dropped. This one is based on Ubuntu 24.04. So they say here, with OS 8, they've focused in on creating a new secure session that ensures applications respect your privacy and require your consent. A brand new dock with productive multitasking and window management features, and empowering our diverse community through inclusive design. On top of that, Elementary OS 8 features Linux kernel 6.8 and will have stuff like FlatHub installed right out of the box. I've heard that driver management and all of that is going to be a lot better here, and they've made improvements across the board. On top of that, it appears their secure sessions will be using Wayland by default. Let me know your thoughts about Elementary OS in the comments below, and if you wanted to read through the entire release notes, again, like everything I talk about, link will be in the description below right at the bottom. There is quite a bit here. Next up here is a friendly heads up that GOG has just kicked off their Black Friday sales. So if you're in the market for some DRM-free games, you may want to check out GOG. Included in the sales are some heavy hitters like Baldur's Gate 3. Now, I am in Canada, so prices in the US will be less, but Baldur's Gate 3 is currently sitting at 20% off. A great time to pick it up. Next up, we're talking about the Steam Controller 2, and we talked about this one a while back, not too long ago though, when it had leaked that the controller was in development. Well, it turns out we've got our very first look at it, and this may be looking at the real thing here. This is a render, but at the same time, it may be very close to the production model. So feast your eyes on the potential Steam controller too. Now this was posted by Brad Lynch over on Twitter, and if I'm not mistaken, Brad Lynch was also the person who brought forward the news about the Steam controller 2 in the first place. Anyways, here to me this kind of looks like a compressed Steam Deck, basically a Steam Deck without a screen and a possible readjustment of a couple of buttons. Let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below and if it interests you. To me, this looks super interesting and something I would be interested in checking out, especially on the Steam Deck and especially on PC. Next up, we're talking about Tencent, and it appears that Tencent has unveiled a brand new gaming handheld product, a very interesting one. This is reported to have an 11-inch screen, 2.5K resolution at 120 Hz. And it features some pretty beefy specs. So it's going to feature an Intel Ultra 7 258V. It's going to have 32 gigs of RAM. It's got 3D eye tracking. The controllers are detachable, kind of like a Nintendo Switch, and even more. This to me is super interesting. I mean, the screen alone is massive. It's going to be weird gaming on this thing. Anyways, let me know your thoughts about this one in the comments below. I don't know the price of it. I don't know the release date just yet. It's got 100-watt charging. Well, this seems to be a beast of a device. And speaking about devices, next up here, we're shifting from device to software and talking about clownmdemu, which is a Sega Mega Drive emulator that just got a brand new update. Now, at the time of filming, version 0.8.0.1 is the latest update. It's a bug fix for version 0.8. This is the first update since the beginning of April, so version 0.8, in my opinion, is kind of a big one. I mean, there's a bunch of different stuff on here. There's some fixes and even more. For example, emulated RAM is cleared upon a hard reset. That's a nice feature. On top of that, preliminary native multi-window support has been implemented, but due to defects, it is disabled by default, so this one is currently a work in progress. And on top of that, the audio ladder effect is now emulated. So if you like emulators, if you like clowns, and you like learning about things, again, like everything I talk about, link is in the description below right at the bottom. I don't hide my sources. This one is 100% free and it's open source. It's available as an app image, as an exe file. It's not available on Android though. However, it is worth pointing out here that it's also available in the browser. Next up here, we're talking about the next Witcher game. Now, if you're excited about the next Witcher game, if you're waiting for it, you're probably going to be waiting a while. It's a ways away from release. Anyways, here, this is good news for the overall project. They say they're thrilled to announce that Project Polaris, which I think is the next Witcher game, has entered the full-scale production phase. With new challenges just around the corner, it's the talented and hardworking people who make me believe we can together make the upcoming Witcher saga a remarkable experience. No stopping now. Stay tuned for what's on the other side of the coin. So there you have it. Now, before you ask, no, I don't have a release date, and no, I don't have any more information on it. This is literally all I've got right now. Let me know your thoughts about the next Witcher game in the comments below and maybe your predictions about it. And speaking about upcoming stuff, next up we're talking about Palworld and Terraria. If you're a fan of either of these games, you're probably going to be a big fan of this news update. This comes right from Palworld. They say 2024 isn't finished yet for Palworld, and we have some exciting news about the next update coming very soon. But first, we want to tell you about something happening in 2025, Palworld x Terraria. Unfortunately, I don't have any more information for you about this one. I don't know the release date, but I do know that these two games are working together in some sort of capacity. Let me know your thoughts and predictions about this one. I mean, in my opinion, this is going to be pretty big for both games. And speaking about upcoming stuff, next up we're talking about Assassin's Creed Shadows, and I don't know if people are going to be excited about this news or not, but apparently it's going to feature de novo and mandatory Ubisoft account linking. The game's EULA also requires you to allow Ubisoft to monitor your RAM. I am not joking with you. From my understanding, the whole RAM monitoring situation is to prevent people from cheating, like using trainers or macros or anything like that during gameplay, which is weird because this is a single-player game, unless I'm missing something. I mean, I can see that stuff in an anti-cheat for a multiplayer game, a competitive multiplayer game, an MMO or something like that. But for a single player game, unless I'm out of touch or something, I can't see the need for that. Anyways, it's on here. The game is releasing on February 14th. And if you wanted to check out all of the details, they're right up on Steam. you can check out the EULA yourself. Overall, my guess here about the whole RAM monitoring situation, I mean, I'm not surprised about Denuvo, but I'm wondering about the RAM monitoring situation and wondering if they're trying to prevent modding and stuff like that. Who knows here? If you know, let me know in the comments below, but it's weird. But anyways, that is all I've got for you in this one. Straight to the point, all stuff and no fluff. We talked about a bunch today. Let me know your thoughts about absolutely any of it in the comments below. If you like this video, leave a like. If you didn't like this video, leave a like. Hit that subscribe button. Check out my other videos. Don't tempt fate. Save your state.